Hi guys, it's Jimmy, and today, as you can see, I've got a handful of Rolex, a few new ones and some old ones. And before we start, I'm wearing my Lewis Erard Allen Silverstein regulator in titanium on the sort of stretchy strap. Really comfortable watch. Love that fun, colourful dial. Bit of fun. Been wearing it a bit this week. So yeah, I may as well touch on the current market, which everyone's been talking about for the last month or so. And all these videos out there saying it's going to crash and all that shit. Look, obviously it couldn't sustain the growth that they were experiencing with modern Rolex, AP, Patek, and then a few other brands sort of caught onto that wave, even Vacheron. Look, that was not sustainable, obviously, to go month after month, year after year. So that little top end bubble is, of course, burst, and they'll settle back down to what it was like, a couple of years back, and probably slowly continue to grow at a much slower rate, though. And I believe so because there's more people into watches now than ever before. So they're not just going to all run away from it. They still have an interest. Even the guys that were maybe purely in it for investment, there's still going to be a return on a lot of these watches. There'll be some kind of investment return. Especially, look, if you are capable of getting them at retail, of course they're a safe bet. But to me, it's only for and I call it play money. Money that doesn't need to go anywhere else for necessities. If you're putting all your eggs in this basket, it's not a great idea, I don't think. We're putting, like I hear some people putting they've got a lot of their net worth in watches, which I actually heard from someone recently, and they were trying to sell out of some of them. It's your own fault if you're going to be that greedy. But anyway, while all this hype was going on and the market was just going crazy, of course, like myself, like plenty of other guys, if you can get some pieces here and there, if you get offered the pieces, of course we love them, and it's a safe bet also. Of course you're going to buy them. Just being honest. But during that time, I had my eye on a vintage piece, and the funny thing is, this vintage watch that I had my eye on, I owned previously the exact same watch, and it came back to market, and it was just sitting there. No one was buying it. I don't know how many weeks it was advertised for. So I finally went there and said, no, I'm getting it back. And being a vintage watch, over the last couple of years, they haven't really moved in price. The vintage market sort of has been, a little stagnant. Prices have not gone down, but they haven't gone up. So they're just sitting there waiting for the right person to buy them. So I was that right person, and here's my Tudor Submariner. So this is a reference 7928 from 1967, and this is the last of them with the 390 butterfly movement. So after this, they went to ETA. So as you can see, this is the stunning thing about it. It's got that sunburst style that vintage guys go crazy for. The indices and the hands have got that, that little grubbiness to them, which is just so nice and honest, and it's very even. And the hands are, just absolutely identical to the dial. No cleaning up, no relooming, no color matching. As for the case, super fat, thick case, possibly unpolished. Just have a look at those original bevels on there, the chamfers. See, the case holes are really sharp. Original crown, not a service replacement. Original bezel and bezel insert, which is just in stunning condition. Yeah, like I said, look at that case. Doesn't have a bracelet. It was on a bracelet originally because you can see the markings on the case back. There's little semicircles here. It's from the original band, but this would have had a like a riveted bracelet, and they broke down pretty quickly. They didn't last a lot of years if you wore them. So chances are it broke, got thrown out, never got replaced. So I've just got on this stretch band. By the way, you can tell the look at the stamping on the case back. Still awesome. Nice and thick. No blurring, no polishing. Just a really super honest vintage piece, which is just getting harder and harder to find. And like I said, I owned it before. I've got it back. My plan is to keep it, but I mean, I have sold it once before, so who knows. But yeah, I pounced on this, and I think it was due to the market focus being on all the new stuff that this wasn't pounced on. Literally 2 years ago or 3 years ago, this would not have sat there waiting for a new owner as long as it did. So yeah, I feel that I got kind of lucky in that aspect. I mean, it's just a beautiful example. On the lookout for a bracelet that's not necessarily circuit correct, but because to find a 67 stamped bracelet, a riveted one in nice condition, is very pricey, and I think I would be spending. It would value the watch too high, probably above its actual value. If it came on a bracelet, we'd have had to pay maybe a couple grand more. But now to go buy the original bracelet, you'd probably have to spend $5. So I'm not sure what to do. I'm on the lookout for just a decent, even later oyster bracelet. From the 70s or 80s, doesn't really matter. Even if if it's not a riveted one or a folded link, that'd be fine. But yeah, so that's from 67. So really sunburst dial. Then I've got a first of the matte dial 5513 Rolex Submariners. This is from 67 also. So yeah, we can put them together. You can see that the dials are completely different in the way they reflect light. The bezel inserts are definitely similar. Only a bit more fading on the 5513. Dial, is that tad cleaner. But there's something I like about that sort of grubbiness to the lume on this thing. Just gives it that really proper vintage look. Whereas this has the patina, the color, just much cleaner. So yeah, so you can see there, I'm fairly certain this Tudor is unpolished, whereas this has a very thick case, but I think it's had a touch up. Yeah. Anyway, when you look at it from a price point of view, the Rolex is, this is more than double the value of the Tudor. This is a meters first. Obviously it's got a bracelet. I bought this with papers as well, so yeah, it was a little bit pricey, I'd say. But yeah, due to the fact that the vintage Rolex, and unless it's something that's of high-end auction quality, they keep jumping up in value, in price. But I'd say the market from that sort of $10,000 to $100,000 vintage Rolex hasn't done a whole lot in the last 2 years at least. They've just sat there at the same price. So I mean, maybe that's the market to shift to. Maybe if you know a little bit about vintage, maybe the times to get in now. Maybe if a handful of people get interested and they could continue to rise, it might be their turn. They haven't done much in the last 2 years, so who knows. like this 1675 here. So, you know, it's a glossy gilt dial, unpolished. This thing was just jumping up in value monthly, pretty much from after I purchased it. And I was like, wow, what a great investment. And then a couple of years ago, they just stopped. Yeah, it's definitely worth a hell of a lot more than I paid for it, but it's just sitting there at that same value for the last couple of years. So when's their turn? It might be next. Who knows? Could be wrong. Might just sit like this forever. I don't know. But all I know is with vintage stuff is there's no new ones coming out. As long as you know what you're looking at, not to get stooged with one of these Franken watches, you're pretty good, I think. This was a no-brainer. It's once you've looked at a few, you just know what to look for. The honesty of the dial. You can tell when the hands have been, if the dial's been refinished, it's not hard to pick that up. Or if it's been reloomed, you pick it up straight away. Even if the hands have been color matched, very easy to pick that up, because when they'll color match service replacement hands to the dial, they may get the color right, but it's too even. The color is too perfect. Whereas with the original tritium hand that's aged, it'll have little darker corners and, you know, little blotches in it. And yeah, so if you see the hands that they're just like the perfect yellow and there's just no blemishes in it, chances are it's a color matched hand. And a lot of guys are not, you know, that are selling are not clarifying that. They're just trying to pass it off as original. It doesn't sound like much, but if you're into vintage, it means a lot, at least price-wise as well. Yeah. Anyway, what else have I got on the table here? As you can tell, I like my vintage subs because I've got a few here. So this is a 5513. This is from 1983. So I can't remember if it's a Mark IV or Mark V. Mark IVs and Vs are very similar. Yeah, you can see, as much as they're the same, you know, same sort of watch aesthetically, but look how different they are. The way the dials are printed, the way the loom plots are done. Yeah, these maxi dials, there's a reason they're called maxi dials. Just looks so much bigger. It's also that thanks to that the super dome crystal just sort of expands that dial, whereas this doesn't have a super dome on it. I think it's meant to. I don't think that crystal's original. I'm not sure. It does have a little bit of yellowing to it, so it's an old crystal, but I'm not sure. Yeah, so it's my favourite one. This is the first vintage Rolex I bought. So it's 1978 5513. So it's a Mark I maxi dial. And the dead giveaway is the Submariner text under the depth rating. Of course, that has to line up with the maxi loom plots, because the previous models to this also had the depth rating the same way, but they had serifs on the like the 3, 6, and 9. That's slightly different. There's a few other telltale signs, but yeah. So that's my take on what's sort of going on. Logo dials, they are hard to find now. I must admit, trying to find these things now. When I bought this, there was a handful of ones to look at. Probably in that, on Air Kings at least, things that aren't military related, you could probably pick them up for, talking Australian dollars, probably between 5,000 and 8,000. And then you can't even find them. They're really hard to find. And this one's just, you know, really exceptional quality, really nice quality. Dial's really nice. So I wish I sort of, even back in, you know, just a couple of years ago, or even 5 years ago, when you could pick up the Domino's Rolexes for cheap, you know, the serious collectors didn't want them. They just thought they were a joke. Well, they're not a joke anymore. And I sort of wasn't interested because it represented just a cheap pizza company, but at the end of the day, it's got some history. which is pretty cool. And you can't really find many of them either, not without paying, big money. So anyway, keep buying. We can only hope that the new market, for new Rolex becomes a tad easier, so that you can, maybe get that watch you're waiting for. If they start making the phone calls and offering you things and you like it, I say buy. You never go wrong at retail. Anyway, guys, that's all. I've gone for long enough. It's been 15 minutes. So, yeah. Anyway, take care. Have a good day. Bye-bye.